Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to do something a bit different. I haven't really done this before. I thought I'd do like a preview for each format that's going to be in DPL, where each format's at heading into DPL, what's like the current talk of discussion, and kind of just like an introduction for people who like might be watching DPL but are not familiar with the old gens. I thought it'd be pretty cool to just kind of make videos for, BW through SS, probably for SV too, but that'll be my least priority because I think most people are going to be familiar with that format. Kind of where like tiering discussions at heading into DPL 11. I think it's 11 this year. And yeah, I mean, hold on, let me just pull up the tiers for this DPL, which is just going to be the same as it's been for the last 3 years. 3 times SV, 1 times DUU, and then SS, SM, XY, BW. And so yeah, I'll kind of just I'm gonna have to do it over like the next few days. I don't really have time next week, but yeah, I'll be making videos on each tier hopefully, and yeah, hopefully it gives people an idea of like what's going on in each format, what to expect heading into DPL, and what questions are going to be like answered after DPL for each tier. Some of them don't even have any questions to begin with, but I don't know. Should be interesting. Hopefully this is helpful. If it's not, tell me and I won't record them anymore or something. I don't know. I think it should be fun. Hopefully they won't be too long. But yeah. So I guess to start, I decided I'd just start with XY because I don't know. I felt like this one was going to be the easiest to do, and as such, I figured it would be the easiest one to start with. So I don't really have any idea what this is going to look like. But yeah, XY was, I think, the first generation that was like kind of like made during like current gen for DOU. And this is a very interesting format. It's like, if anyone has like watching this has experience with like VGC 2015, it's like VGC 2015, but if you added like 3 very powerful mythical Pokemon and banned nothing. So something interesting to note: XY and BW are 2 formats where there's actually very minimal bans. There's actually only 1 Pokemon ban in each of those tiers, and it's actually Jirachi. Big thanks to Follow Me. And basically everything else is legal. And also there's Kieran Black, which is very cringe. Not actually broken, but it's just cringe. Like, why is this restricted Pokemon legal? But yeah, anyways. So kind of like the way this format plays, in general, this is actually the old gen that's most similar to SV. So we've seen like a lot of people this generation, including myself, kind of like pick up this tier and kind of roll with it because the way it plays is the pace is very similar to SV. It's just like a lot of attacking. There's not really a whole lot of room for like setup stuff. And kind of just like the top mons in this tier. It's been discussed many times in this thread. There's actually a really great post by Idol in this thread about it, but this is kind of just meant to be like an introduction video type of thing. The 3 like kind of central mons of this tier are Lando T, Volcanion, and Thunderous. So Lando T is like obviously one of the best DOU mons of all time, best VGC mons of all time, etc., etc. Just a great Pokemon. And this is kind of like, I would say this is like the height of its power, because maybe that's SM, but yeah, it's like really just great Pokemon in this tier, intimidate stuff. And obviously VGC 2015, especially towards like Worlds and after, like Chalk is like very famous for that format, right? And so XY DOU is like most similar to that format, if we're thinking about it from that perspective. And so like, kind of makes sense that Pokemon like Lando T and Thunderous would be very good, as well as Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan is very good. Kangaskhan is probably the consensus pick as the best Mega Evolution. It's honestly kind of up for debate at the moment, but as you can see here, yeah, it's in Tier 1. It's just a great Pokemon. Oftentimes doesn't really opt to run like attacking stuff. It just runs Seismic Toss. It's just very excellent at making progress. We'll talk about Kangaskhan a little bit later, especially in regards to how this tier has developed the last couple of years. But yeah, then Thunderous obviously just completely broken Pokemon in BW and XY, just Thunderwave moment. In this tier, it's not quite as insane as like in BW, but it's very, very good. Just like the most consistent form of speed control that's on most teams. Certain archetypes are like only held in check primarily by Thunderous. Like Like Rain is actually a very, very viable archetype in this format, and Thundurus is actually pretty important in helping check that. So there's a lot of things that Thundurus is just really good at soft checking thanks to T-Wave. And obviously it has an interesting matchup into Lando T. Obviously can run HP Ice. Lando T can sometimes trade back well with it because HP Ice doesn't kill Lando T. Lando T runs very, very bulky. Lando T runs a variety of sets, but usually they all run like a lot of HP investment. Assault Vest is common, like safety goggles, and just rocks is common. Obviously, like the big difference from like VGC formats is DOU formats. Stealth rocks tend to be like a very, very good move, and that's kind of one of the main things Lando T does as well. In this format, it's the best rock setter, really by far, to be honest. So the only other one is like kind of like I guess Mega DNC, but yeah, it's very good. And then Volcanion is the last of the big three of like they call it LTV. Volcanion is kind of taking the place of Heatran. Why? Because Volcanion is just better than Heatran. Volcanion is extremely bulky. Just Sea Eruption's a completely broken move. And yeah, it just runs. It could run a lot of stuff, but it's just like it's kind of just like better Heatran. So actually, Volcanion being good has kind of pushed Heatran out of this format for a long time. It's still like you see it occasionally, but it's like not particularly great. As you see, it's down in tier 4, and Volcanion's all the way up in tier 1. Volcanion is maybe the best Pokemon in the tier. It's like very, very good. Most teams, like basically every team should have Volcanion. It's just the best fire type. It's the best water type. It's like the best everything. Water Absorb, obviously, important for some matchups as well, including itself, right? Kind of chips itself down with Earth Power, but it runs like really, especially defensive AV a lot of the time. And like it doesn't even do that much damage, so yeah, it's like it's on the vast majority of teams. It's very good. It's probably even more used than Lando T and Mega Kangaskhan, if I had to guess. I'm not really sure what the usage stats look like from like last DPL, but yeah, it's just excellent. And then we look at some of the other mods that are good, right? Like Amogus, Conch Elder, Mega DNC. This is actually like the Mega DNC format. Mega DNC is very good. It's been one of the best spawns at like damaging like Thundurus and Volcanion, which is obviously pretty impressive, but struggles a bit more into Lando T. That's kind of why it's not like universally the best Mega or anything, but it's a very good Pokemon. It's also like best like fairy type attacker in the tier. Just with even like generally minimally invested in Blast hits a lot of things for a lot of damage. Mugus, just the best redirection Pokemon in the format. This is not a surprise. This is the generation Goggles will introduce, but this Pokemon is still like kind of just like it stands by itself. Like there's no redirection Pokemon that's anywhere near to a Splash Pool as Amogus is. Conkeldurr is like one of the best Pokemon damaging Kangaskhan. That's kind of like its main thing in this format. Just a lot of HP. A big trend with like a lot of Pokemon in XY is they run a lot of Spadef investment. So things that you would like be expecting to do a lot of damage, even like super effective hits, are just not going to be doing that much damage, especially on the special side. This is a very bulky format, but at the same time, it's also a very offensive format. So it's just a lot of damage trading, and kind of just Conkeldurr is one of those mons that just trades well. Is a phrase you'll hear a lot, because like just Drain Punch, generally good coverage. Ice Punch for Lando T, knockoff occasionally, Mach Punch, just a lot of stuff it can run. And then Genesect, another one of the greatest DOU Pokemon of all time. Just it can run. It's primarily like Scarf and CB in this tier. You don't really see any of the other sets, but those sets are just really good. If you've played any DOU format, you probably know this. But yeah, Scarf just like getting a bajillion coverage moves. Choice Band just clicking E-Speed. Very good stuff. Mega Gengar. This is the one format where Mega Gengar is legal in DOU. In Gen 7 it got banned because, well, there was all sorts of fairy types for it to prey upon. And it's obviously, it's a very, very good Pokemon. And it's like, in some ways it's arguably broken, but like, a lot of things in XY are like that. This is maybe the highest power level DOU format before SV. Because again, there's not a lot of bans. Gen 7 like obviously had some like power creep, right? But like a lot of the stuff that was broken in XY actually ended up getting banned in that format. And Mega Gengar is one of those things. Mega Kangaskhan's also one of those things, but Mega Gengar, very, very good. But a lot of the tier is actually really adapted to be good into Mega Gengar. And so that's kind of been the dynamic of the last few years. Mega Gengar was very good for a long time. I think it was Prime was probably before I started playing, but it was very good. But Mega Kangaskhan and some of the more recent teams have like kind of like displaced a little bit, and so Mega Gengar, something to keep an eye on entering this DPL. How are people going to attempt to build this in a format that increasingly looks very, very bad for it? However, it obviously does have a lot of strengths. It just hits hard naturally. Shadow Tag is broken. And on the topic of Shadow Tag being broken, Gothitelle is also very good in this format. Other stuff, Aegislash very good as well. One of the best mons at just being good into Kang specifically. Stuff like Flash Cannon trading well, Shadow Ball trading well, Wide Guard being valuable. Bisharp, not really surprising. Deoxys Speed. This is another recent development that I want to talk about a little bit later. Because I want to talk about specifically Mega Kangaskhan plus Deoxys, which was kind of like the main thing last year that popped up. And other stuff, just Ferrothorn. It's not super important. The main stuff is the tier 1 and tier 2 stuff that you're going to be seeing in every game. But yeah, the meta is run by these Pokemon, plus like Aegislash, I'd say. Also Dio Speed. The rest of these, not super important. Mega Salamence was freed a few years back. It was actually banned for a long time, but it got freed, and it's honestly like not that like big a deal. It's a good Pokemon, but it's not like incredible or anything. Sylveon, one of the few fairy types. The fairy type obviously very new. You don't have the broken Gen 7 ones yet, but that actually just means that the few fairy types that do exist, you don't really get to see them in other formats, but they're very good in this one. Mega Gardevoir. Mega Gardevoir is good in like a lot of formats, but especially in this one, like the Pixelate and Aerialate abilities are very good. That's kind of why it's surprising that Mence is not more broken than it is, but the tier is very well adapted to it. It doesn't really like Fund. It doesn't really like Lando T. It doesn't really like Volcanion. But Gardevoir itself is just maybe. I said Mega Diancie was like the best like attacker, the fairy type attacker, but Mega Gardevoir is the most powerful. Mega Diancie just also packs a better like alternate stab option. But for fairy damage specifically, Gardevoir is the best one. And then if you don't have that, Sylveon is the best fit you're going to get if you're not committing a Mega slot. Talonflame obviously hits very hard. Landoi, a Pokemon that's risen a lot in basically every DOU tier since Gen 8, when it was kind of discovered to be really broken. I think Landoi is actually one of the best Pokemon in this tier. And that's actually why I would consider Lando T to be not tier 1, because I think both Landos are like equally viable, personally. But yeah, those are kind of the main things. LTV, Kangaskhan, Gengar, Mega Diancie, Amoonguss, Conkeldurr, Genesect, and then like Aegislash plus Landoi. But yeah, feel free to check out this thread for yourself. Some of these Pokemon have analyses. I'm not sure if they're. I think most of them are outdated, but there's some more recent ones that are good as well. Okay, so that's kind of just like an overview of like the good Pokemon in this tier. If you've never seen XY before, I'm not sure if there's any like good replays I can use for this. Okay, but let's just talk about like recent stuff that happened in XY. I think it'll be interesting. So. At least since I started playing, that's what I could talk about. So I think like in late 2022 or early 2023, Mega Salamence got freed. It's probably in here somewhere. Let's see. Maybe it's on page 3. I don't know. But yeah, Mega Salamence got freed. It was banned for a long time, but got freed shortly after I started playing. I just know it was somewhere around that time. I'm not going to go bother looking for it, but you can take my word for it. It's in here somewhere. And honestly, that, at least from what I've seen, I don't think that's really had like a whole lot of effect on the tier. There's just like, there's a lot of viable Megas. Mega Salamence is not even really in like the top 4 probably. But yeah, so I think a good place to start is last year. So entering last year, that's a good post by Z somewhere in here, talking about Deoxys Speed plus Mega Kangaskhan. So this combo is really kind of the main thing to keep an eye on for this tour, as it has been for a while. This combo like really pushed out Gengar. It really threatens Gengar. One of the most consistent ways to get rocks. They just trade very well. And this is a very pivotal part of the metagame at the moment. There's a great video by Z linked somewhere in here about the combination, but it's really one of the most important archetypes to keep an eye on entering this DPL. I saw a lot of usage last year. Z used it like every week to great success, I might add. It went like 7-2 or something. So this was a very big deal last year, and I expect it to be this year as well. How will teams like adapt? There was also SPL last year, which I played in. I did not play XY in DPL last year. I actually didn't play in DPL last year at all. I managed. But I did play in SPL, and that was one of the main things I was like keeping an eye on was DOS plus Kang, but SPL is, well, it does have like a lot of good players playing it. I wouldn't say it quite has the same level of focus as like a lot of the old gens have in DPL, right? So I'm really curious to see how Dio Speed plus Kang is like innovated upon and both like responded to. I think Aegislash is one of like the best Pokemon in this tier, specifically because it has an excellent matchup into Kang plus Dio. It's very difficult for that combo to like really remove Aegislash, to be honest. But obviously, one Pokemon by itself is not enough to push that archetype out of existence, right? So we'll have to see how it responds. I spammed a lot of Aegislash in that tour, and it worked out pretty well. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's just... It's kind of the main new thing to think about. I was going to say something else, but whatever. And how, like, I think recently a lot of the games I've seen, Thundurus seems really strong. I know that's, like, not really surprising, but it is kind of interesting because Thundurus actually did move down on the VR, but to be honest, after watching more of the tier, I think that was probably wrong. I hate that Pokemon so much, but it is very good. Other few things to keep in mind that, like, popped up last DPL, there was a stall team that was brought a few times, some Mega Sableye, Chansey stuff. There's a few people posting their thoughts on the tier from last year. But yeah, we'll have to see where it goes. But this tier is very interesting to me because you see a lot of innovation opposed to some of the other gens, I feel like. People are always like kind of messing around with XY, so I'm curious to see where it goes. I'll probably try to just pull up some replays from last GPL. Is there anything else to talk about? But I'm just really curious to see if like anyone can figure out Gengar. That's kind of my big question for this format, because Gengar has like a lot of potential, but like the metagame itself is just, like kind of hostile to it. Like, is there a way to get around the Dio Speed stuff? So yeah, we'll have to see. I used a different Mega every single week in SPL last year, and I thought that was a lot of fun. There's just a lot of viable Pokemon in this format. It's really great. So I'm really hoping to see a lot more innovation this tour. Because for a while, at least when I was watching it, this tier kind of felt really shallow to me because it was kind of like a lot of the same centralized stuff, which I guess you would expect, like if you've followed like VGC 15 at all, or like know how that format ended. But it really is like, that's not the end-all be-all of this format. Like there's a lot of things that are worth checking out. I think Salamence has a lot of potential. I was saying earlier, like, I don't think it's, like, one of the strongest Mega Evolutions, but, like, it could be. Like, Aerialate is very good. And I think some of the sets on Ments are, like, definitely better than others. I'm not really, like, you see a lot of Dragon Dance and stuff. I think that's, like, okay. Sometimes you see, like, mixed stuff with, like, Fire Blast. I think that set's actually really bad. It kind of trades well, but, like, not really. I think like just clicking fly moves is the best for Ments. Other stuff. Personally, I actually really like Power Up Punch Kang, because I don't really like Seismic Toss that much. Although it's very good, it's not really the way I like to approach the tier. So we'll see if we see any of that. But I really see a lot of Deoxys Speed plus Kang for the first few weeks. And then we'll kind of see like where it goes from there. That's obviously going to be the main thing that people are going to be focused on early on in this tour, as it was kind of like the main thing last year. But there are things that are like good into that. Like there's Mega Diancie, right? Keeping off rocks. I mean, the problem with Mega Diancie is like everything can tech Flash Cannon in this tier, because everything learns Flash Cannon, including Dio Speed. But at the same time, it's an effective way of keeping rocks off. And once rocks are off, like that can be very useful for dealing with that. Rocks are just very important in this tier, managing them. Um, Removal is not super powerful as well. Like in SM, rocks are also very good, but removal is easier because Lando T learns defog, and a lot of other things learn defog. Um, all right, so that's kind of just like the main things I expect to see heading into this tour. A lot of the recent tiering discussion was about Fund, and you can see I made a post on here before. Um, I really think Fund is kind of. We'll have to see where it goes. I think like the likelihood of anything being banned from this tier is like kind of minimal. But if there's anything that needs to be banned, it's like either Shadow Tag or like P Wave. Um, Both of those are like relatively uncompetitive. Shadow Tag just like creates like a lot of dumb situations. But like honestly, more with Gothitelle than Gengar. Gengar just has like a lot of weaknesses, but I think Goth is very strong. That's another thing I'm going to keep an eye on. I've seen like a lot of Gothitelle recently, in some of like the individual tours. But I'm not sure if that's going to like actually translate to this tour. We'll have to see. Um, but yeah, here's the Z video. I recommend you check this out. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what metagame discussion looks like after DPL. But I think I really would like to see like a Thunderous suspect, to be honest. I'm not sure if that shakes up the format too much. It might not even be worth banning yet. It's just like T-Wave is uncompetitive. We know this. Why is Thunderous legal when it has Prime T-Wave? Um, but you know, other things people talked about in the past are Volcanion being banned. That's unlikely to happen, but it is probably the strongest Pokemon in the tier. So another very good Pokemon. But I think really, if there's any change that's going to happen to this tier, it's going to be around Fun. Um, it's very good and at least a very cringe gameplay. So let's see if we can find some of that cringe gameplay and some of the better gameplay as well. Let's see. Foregone metagames, DOU, replays, and usage. Oh yeah, this is a great game at showing the Thunderous problem. We're gonna put it on hyper fast. I don't have time for this. So we see Single Thunder actually brought a Mega Scissor team. Just really an interesting example of you can just use anything in this tier if you really put your mind to it. I don't actually think Scissor is that good at Struggles Lawn to Volcanion, but it's definitely cool. It's interesting, like the dynamic between like megas that are like good in XY versus megas that are good in SM. Like Metagross is the best mega in SM. It's not even in. It's not even really a key player in this format at all. Oh, here's where it starts. This is pure cinema. Jet effect is paralyzed. It may be unable to move. Thunderous lives. Oh, Lando T is dead. Another full para. Ooh, T-Wave. Ooh, T-Wave. Actual criminal gameplay. But yeah, that's what paralyzing all your opponent's Pokemon can do for you. This is kind of an oft-cited game of two-way feed broken, but there are more examples as well. But that one's particularly egregious. Let's see if we can find a better replay. Watch some of the Z's games if we can get kind of an idea of like Dio Speed plus King. Oh yeah, here's a good one. Very standard, just like offensive trading team here. King plus Dio, Volcanion, best Pokemon in the tier. Genesect for chipping stuff, probably down with E-Speed once rocks are down. And we see rocks go up there early. Rocks going to go up for both players. Deox is going to get heavily chunked, but it's already did its job, right? It got rocks up, it probably gets one more attack off. Yeah, Ice Beam there. Toss is just going to hit into the Protect. Shout out Seismic Toss for doing 50% to every single Pokemon in the game, pretty much. Yeah, there's Lando I. Lando I opts to run Psychic in this tier to hit Amogus and Conkeldurr over Sludge Bomb, which doesn't actually have any targets. I guess it's like just Gardevoir, and you could probably run it for Gardevoir, but Psychic is definitely usually the move of choice. There's another Seismic Toss. Gonna chip that Thunderous a fair amount. We're just gonna see Kangaskhan just sit on the field and doing stuff. It's gonna drop to that presumably Iron Fist boosted Drain Punch from Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr can both run Guts and Iron Fist at this tier. I think Iron Fist is a little bit more popular, but you see Guts a fair amount just for punishing random T-Wave stuff. Look at that Conkeldurr just eating every hit. And there's the presumably Mega Gengar. Yeah, big Drain Punch. Conkeldurr looking at like it's going to be difficult to kill. Psychic Genesect. Interesting. Another substitute. Big knockoff. Does the DNC just win this game? Might just win this game. Not sure actually. Look at it in a moment. Big Sludge Bomb. And the poison. Ooh, that doesn't even kill X. Oh, that does. Okay. Very interesting Mega Gengar gameplay. But yeah, like you see here, like Gengar like really struggled to leave an impact on this game, right? Like into that like Deoxys speed plus Kangaskhan replay, like or replay team, like it's very difficult to lead it early. Um, and so it was fortunately coming later, and like it just didn't have as much board presence. Um, and so Gengar teams are just really going to have to adapt if they want to deal with this. Probably like redirection really. But that's can be a little bit difficult to fit, especially when the best redirection Pokemon is Amoonguss and is weak to Deoxys Speed as well. Psycho Boost is just a really powerful move. Deoxys Speed gets like a lot of powerful tools. Flash Cannon to deal with like DNC, which tries to keep rocks off with Magic Bounce, and then Psycho Boost just is really strong damage, and then Ice damage is also really good with like just Ice Beam into like Thunderous and Landorus. So yeah, this is an interesting replay. Kind of good illustration of Deoxys people's Kang being annoying for Gengar teams. Um, Standard stuff, really. Um, but yeah, let's see if there's any other good ones, then I'll probably end the video. Um, we'll pull out the stall replay. Yeah, I think it's this one. This was actually brought twice into Z. It was not brought into anyone else. But this is certainly an interesting team. We're gonna turn it on hyper fast. I don't feel like watching this in real time. But yeah. So the interesting thing about Sableye in this format is it actually has Prankster Wisp on the turn at Mega Balls because of like no dynamic speed for Megas. I think I'm not sure if it works like that in SM, but uh, yeah, it just looks Calm Mind, Snarl, and Wisp. It's really annoying. It just looks Recover. And you're gonna see Z is really gonna struggle to break this Pokemon. I'm not even sure if it ever gets knocked out. 16 PP Recover. Big Barrowthorn punishing the double up there. And yeah, you can see just with like the rocks and the spikes down, it's so difficult to make progress into this team. This is a really creatively built team. I'm really a fan of it, even if it's a little bit cringe. But yeah, you see JRL is like nominally down in the Pokemon count, but it's like not even really winnable for Z at all at any point in this game. Because like, how do you knock out the Chansey? It's like Keldor died. Insane. But yeah. Anyways, that's going to be a brief preview of XY. Hopefully this was helpful for anyone that doesn't have experience looking at this tier or watching this tier. And I look forward to seeing how it goes in DPL. And yeah, I'll be back soon with another preview video for DPL. See you next time.